Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Parent Power Hour, where Faith Department really empowers our parents to support their children's learning at home. And today we have two amazing presenters. First, we have Brian Schaefer, who is a coordinator of Accelerated Program, and also Gail Batone. She's presented with us before, coordinator of Accelerated Programs. And Accelerated Programs in Hillsborough County has everything under them like advanced placement, AP resources. They have Avid, they have Cambridge, they have all of the Cambridge diplomas, college entrance testing resources. They have dual enrollment, springboard, and just general resources to help your child to accelerate to go from this level to the next. And so I'm so excited to have them. I'm thrilled. Today's topic, though, is going to be based on accelerated programs and dual enrollment. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian. Thank you all for being here.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fullwood. I know I can speak on behalf of Gail. We are excited to be here to share this information. This is our everyday. Gail and I support our office and making sure that as many students who can be positively impacted by these programs as possible are out there getting good information and getting the support of the adults around them. So we want to take you through these two programs that fit under, as Ms. Fullwood was saying, under our office umbrella. And we hope that you learn a little bit something and allow your students to really become everything they can. We consider ourselves the ones who keep the doors of opportunity open, as many doors as possible. So if you learn something and you get one of those doors open, then today will be a win. So in accelerated programs, we support, as Ms. Fullwood was saying, we support a number of programs, and today we will be talking advanced placement and dual enrollment. Most of what we do is about opportunity, some of it long-term and some of it short-term, right? These could be graduation opportunities in assessments, or they could be, like we'll talk about today, college credit opportunities and really long-term goals about college and career and beyond. So some of it is here and now, and some of it is long-term. But what's really interesting about AP and dual enrollment is that they're kind of both, right? They have an opportunity to do something in their neighborhood community schools that they would be doing normally, like taking courses, but also with an eye on the future in terms of college credit and moving forward. So it kind of lives in both worlds. AP, or advanced placement, these are courses taken in high school. So they have teachers at their school, many of whom they know. Sometimes these are teachers who teach other courses that aren't AP, and they also have a section or two of AP courses. So they might be teachers that the students already know and have a relationship with, and think, wow, they also teach that cool AP course. Maybe one day I can get there, right? So they're taken on campus. They earn high school credit, obviously, and there are incentives for the high school credit. There's a GPA bump for the coursework that they do, but they also have an opportunity. When it comes to AP, we have the opportunity to earn college credit. Once they get to college, obviously they have a different placement wherever they end up in college based on how many credits they've earned through the AP programs in their high schools. Really what it is it's access to rigorous and challenging coursework. Many of our AP students have already shown that they have aptitude, they have some capacity to show potential in this advanced and challenging coursework, but they might need a nudge of encouragement. They might need someone to say, hey, have you ever thought about it? Have you ever tried? But it is the access that is open to all of our students to that rigorous and challenging coursework that really drives a lot of our work. We don't believe in gatekeeping. We believe in every student having as much opportunity as possible, and advanced placement courses are no different. So we want teachers and students and parents to know what's out there, so they have that access. If you're thinking about the future, having AP courses certainly stands out on college applications. Mainly because admissions officers are looking for, did the student challenge him or herself? Like, did they take advantage of all those opportunities that the high schools were giving them? And by the end of this presentation, you'll see, what those opportunities or where those opportunities lie because it's not all one or all of the other. But if you're trying to stand out on your college application, that sort of standard track doesn't necessarily always do that. But an AP course, AP courses, and successful completion of those AP courses will help that. I mean, and then just like dual enrollment will, this will save kids money, save families money, right? So if you are able to take and earn college credit while in high school while not paying for those college credit hours, that's just banked money. So not only do you have the credit, those are credits you don't have to then go off and buy and pay for at a state university or an out-of-state university. At the bottom of the slide, you see some numbers. So over 62,000 exams taken in 37 courses by more than 32,000 students. So this is not new. This is not a secret. We are always have been, and certainly for the last 12 or 13 years, big proponents of access to AP, open access to AP, and really helping students get there, supporting them in the coursework and preparing them for those exams. In Hillsborough County, since 2019, we've had over 26,000 students earn an AP exam score of 3, 4, or 5. That's going to be important as we continue to talk more about AP courses, because it's that AP exam that that all but assures them of that college credit. Right, earning that 3, 4, or 5 is going to ensure that they get as much assurance that they'll have that college credit. On that exam, it's scored out of 1 through 5. All right, so they take the course, they receive a grade for that course, and then at the end of the semester, at the end of the term, they take the AP exam that goes along with that course. So what ends up happening is that the score is an indicator of how qualified the student is for college work in that course. So a 1 being a score of no recommendation, that those students have not necessarily met any recommendation for readiness when it comes to that college course. 2 is possibly qualified, and 2 is oftentimes seen as a missed opportunity, but we don't believe that. We believe that there's power in a 2, that the students who earn a 2 on an AP exam are still academically prepared, that they've exceeded many of the grade level benchmarks. But the AP side of it is that the College Board isn't necessarily sure that they're qualified for that college coursework. So that's the possibly qualified. 3, 4, or 5, you'll see there is qualified, well qualified, or extremely well qualified, and that's where you see college credit granted for students who take and pass those AP exams. Like you saw on the previous slide, we have many options for AP courses in our schools. So I know there's a lot of information on this slide, but the AP courses are broken into the content areas. And one thing we'll talk about a little bit later is understanding your child or your students' academic sort of strengths, and really leaning into those strengths. Because, if you have a student who's been more successful traditionally in the humanities and the English and the social studies, then maybe you try to find those areas and say, hey, 11th grade, let's try that AP language and composition course. You've done really well in your English courses in the past, and maybe this is one that you can find some success in. Or if they're more of a math and science scholar or standout, then you can find those. But for the most part, everything that you see here that has an indicator with a blue arrow is a course that's currently being offered in a Hillsborough County public school. That's not to say it definitely exists within your neighborhood school. And if you want to know more about the courses that are offered specifically at your school, we can get you more information on that, or you can always contact the school to find out. And truth be told, some of these courses rotate a little bit. Some of them are ones that are definitely at every school, and some depends on interest and enrollment, whether or not it's going to be there this year or next year. So just kind of take a look at what's out there, and then get more information on what is being offered currently at your neighborhood school. Before they enter an AP class, there's a couple of different ways where students on campus can be identified for AP. obviously what you're doing right now is one way, right? Just being interested, knowing that the course exists, pushing your student to or your child to get more information and sign up for that course. For the most part, I want to be careful when I say that, there's really not a whole lot of prerequisites work that goes into an AP course. Just interest and willingness in that advanced and rigorous coursework environment is oftentimes enough. But the traditional methods for identifying students for AP would be test scores, grades, teacher recommendations, those kinds of things. But for the past few years, we've sort of unlocked a new way for teachers to look around their school, look at their student body, and try to figure out who's right for this course. And there's a metric out there called AP potential. And the number that is created by AP potential is basically likelihood that the student will be successful in that AP course. And that's all derived off of the PSAT. So the PSAT is a test that's given throughout our district to 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th graders. And what happens is teachers have that data and they can find out based on that data, which isn't necessarily directly related to their content or their course. There are some strong indicators as they pull scores and sub scores from this larger test to determine whether or not a student is showing the ability to be successful in that type of coursework. So really interesting tool that teachers can use. We talk to teachers and administrators all the time about AP potential, how to access it. But what I would encourage you, and really this is kind of putting it on your radar, so that if your child sits for a PSAT or a related assessment, you make sure that they bring their best that day, right? It's a test that they're invested in. It's not just another exam. It's not just going through the motions kind of thing. We always talk to schools and administrators about making sure that the culture around PSAT is positive, that the expectations of our students are doing their best, because it's not just a score that they're going to get. There's a lot of things that are connected to this, scholarships and otherwise. But for your AP teachers, and for those of you who have students who maybe haven't been contacted by these teachers, and some of it is because maybe the PSAT scores aren't there. So we really encourage students to do their best on PSAT, because one of the byproducts of that is showing AP potential, so that the teachers on their campus say, hey, look, here's a letter that invites you to come to my AP course because you didn't know it, but you showed me that you can do this. So there's a couple of different ways for students to be identified as AP students, but really also what it comes down to is their willingness to take that chance and put themselves out there. So we'll come back around to talk a little bit more about some specifics when it comes to AP compared to dual enrollment, but right now I'm going to kick it over to my colleague Gail Batone, who's going to talk a little bit about other opportunities on high school campus for college credit.
Thanks, Brian. I wasn't sure if we wanted to answer some of the questions that were based on AP right there, but the last question, if we want, it came in, asked about the parents able to see the recommendations for AP classes based on the PSAT. That's in the student score report online, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So when the students get their score report online for PSAT, and they go into their own breakdown and specifics of their score, one of the things that you'll see on there is a link to AP potential. So it's not a whole school metric at that point. It would just be very specific to your own student. And what it's interesting about the online score report when it comes to the student dashboards is that it is connected to your child's school site. So it will say, here are the courses offered at your school in which this child or this student has AP potential, and they base it on basically a 1 to 3 scale. So you'll get these series of dots. There'll be 3 dots if the child or the test scores are indicating really strong AP potential, 2 for partial, and 1 for not yet showing AP potential, right? So that will show you don't have to worry about which courses, whether or not the course is being offered on campus. It'll be there, and whether or not your student has quote unquote AP potential on a scale of 1 to 3, but that's on the digital score report. Yep.
Thanks, Brian. So, and for all you parents of the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, encourage you to have your child log into their College Board account so that you can view their scores through their College Board account. And one note on that, though, is if your child can't remember if they have an account or they can't remember how to log in, the first thing you want them to do is click forgot username, and then they'll enter an email address. And if they have an account, their information will be emailed to them. Just an aside, but we really want to encourage parents to start understanding the importance of that PSAT and all the value of it. So thank you, Brian, for that. Another question was about FLVS and AP courses. So if I'm understanding it correctly, it says some AP courses not open for enrollment on FLVS. And if Ms. Gupta is referring to right now, the reason why you would not be able to register your child for an AP course at this moment is because that course is a full year course. If it's, let's say, AP English literature or language, and the exam is in May. So there is no time for your child to learn the material in order to sit and be successful on that exam in May. What are open right now are semester only AP courses, which would be AP Microeconomics, AP Macroeconomics, or AP US Government are a couple or a few AP courses that are only one semester that would be open for enrollment. So hopefully I answered that question. And then there was another one about honors courses, and that goes right along with what Brian and I are discussing today, is how to help your child make the best selections for what they feel comfortable taking as high school students. And that it includes honors. So we have honors, we have AP, we have dual enrollment. So honors is a great option for students. Today, our focus is on dual enrollment and AP courses. So,
hey Gail.
Yeah.
There's a question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but there's a question in the chat or on the Q&A side about preparation for the AP exam. So there's a couple of different options mentioned in this question, but what I will say that hasn't been mentioned yet in the AP presentation is one of the great things about AP courses is how many resources there are provided directly from the College Board. So while there are other companies out there selling or offering AP support resources, I like to think that it's best straight from the horse's mouth, right? So the College Board has a platform called AP Classroom that your student is already connected to because they have an AP exam ordered on their behalf, and in doing so, they become part of the AP Classroom for that course. The degree to which our teachers are using the platform varies wildly, from some teachers who are very plugged into that platform to other teachers who are completely, doing their own, they're doing it their own way without the support of AP Classroom. So what I would do is I would ask my child how much or how little has their teacher talked about AP Classroom, and then go there. So what you'll see there is you'll see support resources for the units of instruction. You'll see AP daily videos that break down topic questions and big ideas from the units as they go through them, and really have an advantage when it comes to test prep, coming right directly from people who are organizing the courses and creating the exams. I would say that's going to be the best one. And in terms of whether or not this is a virtual only platform, and whether or not there's another question about whether or not we notice differences between face-to-face or neighborhood school course offerings versus virtual offerings. I don't know that there's at this point really good research one way or another to say students are more successful in one environment or another, but I will say if you're looking for support resources, whether you're online or whether you're in person, AP Classroom is going to give you a ton of resources to prepare for the exam.
All right, now we're going to move on to dual enrollment, which is another option for your students to accelerate their coursework in high school. Go ahead, Brian. So what is dual enrollment?
Unmute yourself, Brian.
Sorry, I forgot for a second I was doing the slideshow. I'm on it. I'm on it now, Gal. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Dual enrollment is an acceleration program that allows eligible students, we're going to talk about what an eligible student is in a minute, to take college coursework, and it's free while they are earning high school credit and college credit at the same time. So they can take dual enrollment classes. A lot of high schools offer them on campus now, or through HCC in person. HCC is offering a lot of online courses now as well. So they can do that. They can take dual enrollment all the way up until their last semester of high school. And I say last semester because some of our students are wanting to graduate early. And so that could be all the way up until the end of their junior year if that's when they're graduating. So it's an awesome option, as AP is, to add rigor to their classwork. They would meet with their counselor. Each high school handles dual enrollment a little bit differently. So it's good to say they would just meet with their counselor to determine whether they're eligible or not, and then get the form that they need in order to apply for a term of dual enrollment. It's really important to note that there are deadlines that HCC has in place. So you need to make sure that you're looking at Canvas or wherever your school posts important information, because there is a paperwork deadline and there is a registration for class deadline. And if the student misses it, they're out for that term. So it's as simple as that. All right, Brian. So in order for a student to be eligible to take dual enrollment courses at HCC, the student must have a minimum 3.0 state GPA. And the state GPA is the unweighted grade point average. And they also have to have certain college level test scores. So on the little chart to the right there, we've listed all the different tests that your child can qualify with. So they can take the SAT, the ACT, or PERT, which is offered at HCC. And those are the different scores that they would need in order to take dual enrollment courses at HCC. Okay. Students, we also have a partnership or an articulation agreement with the University of South Florida. Students who have a 3.5 weighted high school GPA, and so it's a little different for USF. They're looking at the weighted one listed on the student's transcript or their student worksheet summary, and the minimum scores on one of the following tests. So USF is looking at the 3-digit SAT score, whereas HCC was looking at the 2-digit score. It's different, and USF's criteria is a bit higher. And as of right now, per our Hillsborough County Public School student progression plan, which you can find on our district website, students can only take dual enrollment courses through USF if they are not offered at HCC. So if you find a course that's not offered at HCC and your student is eligible, they can then take it at USF. Next. Obviously, there are lots and lots of benefits of dual enrollment. The classes are free. We have students earning their AA degree prior to graduating high school. So imagine that's 2 years of college paid for and done along with graduating from high school. That's pretty incredible. Obviously, less time required after high school to finish a college degree. A lot of talk now is on retainment in college. You know, a lot of kids start college and they don't end up finishing. Well, if they've already got, 2 years worth of work done, they're more likely to finish their 4-year degree and further their education. Obviously, it provides them a head start with college. The nice thing is they're earning college credit and high school credit at the same time. So we have students who take a course called ENC 1101, which is freshman English at HCC. That course not only counts for college credit, it also counts for their English credit for high school graduation. And sometimes some high schools may be limited on some of the advanced courses that they offer. So dual enrollment is a great option for a student to take something different that they may be interested in. Now, I meant to mention something about when I was talking about eligibility for either HCC or USF. And one of the questions in the chat had been, about what would be appropriate for a child who maybe has a 504 plan or an IEP. And it's very, very individualized. So it's completely dependent upon your child. So you really have to have a conversation with your child and think about what it is that they want to do, what they're interested in, because I find that students do much better in courses that they find interesting. So, it doesn't matter. HCC deals with students with disabilities. They have the office for students with disabilities, and you can talk with them and meet with an advisor. They're wonderful. AP, we make the AP teachers at your high schools, they would have to follow what's in the student's IEP. We also, through the College Board, if you submit a request for accommodations, they can get extended time on AP exams with the IEP or a 504 plan if College Board approves it. So either one is just fine for a student with a 504 plan or an IEP, in my opinion. One more benefit that I meant to mention of dual enrollment and AP, and Brian had talked about the boost to the GPA. Students who take advanced placement courses or dual enrollment courses get an additional 0.08 added to their GPA for a grade that they earn a C or higher in the course. So that's something that some of the students who are vying for those, the really high class rank or low class rank in that valedictorian, salutatorian, or whatever, you'll find them taking a lot of AP courses, a lot of dual enrollment courses, because they want that class rank. Things that we caution about dual enrollment. Very, very loudly, I need to say this is, college. It is college level. When your child is taking a course through HCC or USF, they're not, the instructor is not thinking of your child as a high school student. They are treating them as a college student because they are in their course. The grades that the students earn are on their college transcript forever. They won't come off. So if the child doesn't do well, a D, an F in a college course, they're already limiting themselves on where they're going to be able to go after high school. So very, very important that everybody understands. It's super important that GPA for college, imagine a C for college is a 2.0. Anything lower than a 2.0, you're going to be put on probation at the college. So we don't want our students doing that. We want to set them up for success. You as a parent are not going to have access to their grades. It's college. They're treated as adults. So you can't call the instructor. Your child will have to advocate for themselves, which isn't a bad thing. It's great. In high school, we can try to help them learn how to better advocate for themselves. It's a good opportunity to do that, because then when they go off on their own, you've already helped them along that path. Another thing is, these instructors aren't reminding students about the important assignments that are coming up. They expect them to understand. They expect them to be keeping track of their calendar, meeting their deadlines. They're going to be attending classes with adults. If they opt to go to HCC, one of the campuses, they will be sitting in a class with adults. So those are just some things to think about when you're considering dual enrollment as an option. Even the dual enrollment courses taught on our high schools, those are going on their college transcript as well. So again, very important that everyone understands that. This next slide, I thought this was important for you guys to look at, and even you parents of the elementary school students. I think that's wonderful that you're on here and learning about all of these things to help your child better succeed as they grow throughout their school years. But I wanted you to see what the kids need in order. These are the basic requirements of what a child needs in order to get a high school diploma. So they need 4 credits of English. They need 4 math credits. Students have to have Algebra 1 and they have to have geometry, and then they can select 2 additional math courses. And again, these are the minimum requirements. Social studies, they need 3 credits. 1 has to be world history. That's typically taken in the 10th grade. 1 has to be US history. That's typically taken in the 11th grade. And then a half a credit comes from US government and another half comes from economics. And then that would be their 3 minimum social studies credits. In science, they need 3 credits. Biology is the required one, and then they can take 2 additional. If they're looking for a university though, universities are looking for students to take the higher levels, what they can take. So a lot of question about should my child take physics, or, those are things that you guys need to be looking at as your students are preparing to go on to post-secondary. And what is that college looking for? And that's what you want your child to be. The other things we need to take, you need 1 credit in fine art or performing art, which we just listed a few. You could take band, digital infotech, which is a computer class, or drawing would meet that 1 credit requirement. A credit of hope. I say everyone needs hope. That's the PE requirement. And then they need 8 electives. That's for 24 credits. And one of them must be completed online. So I wanted to give you an idea of what your child needs to graduate, the minimum credits, and then how can you fit in these accelerated programs that Brian and I are talking about, either advanced placement and dual enrollment. How can we make that work with all of these required classes? So let's look, Brian.
Yeah, a couple of questions in the chat that are specifically related to this slide, and you might have covered them, but one of the reasons we put this slide together is so that you can start to see how these programs and requirements begin to overlap. So the question is, does AP US History count as the required US History credit? And the answer is absolutely. And that's the good thing about the course, is that you don't have to knock out your required US History and then be ready for AP US History. You take AP US History to have an opportunity to earn college credit, but also knock out that high school requirement at the same time. Your guidance counselor should be able to guide during the process of signing up for courses, but going in informed is also part of the student responsibility, knowing kind of what's out there or what they have options to, so they could ask hard questions, so the counselor could say, oh yeah, absolutely, if you want to take AP US History, that will count as your US History credit. So it's good to know what's out there. It's important to understand what counts for what, but there's also some other considerations as well, because it's not always as cut and dry. Dual enrollment, and we put that slide up there about the cautions around dual enrollment, because oftentimes it's not necessarily seen as that. It's seen as a try. Like I'm going to try this college course. So one of the questions was about, can you drop a dual enrollment course like you can drop a regular college course? And I'll let Gail speak to what it's like for students who drop that course and what happens as a result of that, because it gets a little muddier than kids want it to be.
Yep. So students can drop a college course during the drop add period without any penalty. And the drop add period is the first week of classes. After that, if your child drops a dual enrollment course, they will receive a W on their transcript. And W's, though they don't impact a GPA, they're, I'm not sure how colleges will view that they withdrew after the drop add. It's not terrible, but it would be best if we could make wise choices and stick through to the end. I wouldn't want a whole lot of W's on a transcript. Again, they're not going to impact your GPA. However, not sure how college admissions officers will look at a lot of W's.
So then the question becomes, what are the benefits of one over the other, right? So there's a question here about so if they both offer college credit, what's the benefit of taking dual enrollment over AP courses? So ultimately, you're probably going to be faced with that same decision. Why AP over dual enrollment? Why dual enrollment over AP? The biggest difference between the two is that there is no exam tied to a dual enrollment course that grants the credit, right? The student earns a grade in the course, and it is that grade that allows them to have the college credit. For an AP course, they can get good grades in the course itself, but if they don't earn that 3, 4, or 5 on the AP exam, then they're not going to get that college credit that goes along with it. They'll have the high school credit, they'll have the GPA bump, but they won't have that college credit assured. So it's a little bit of a high stakes end to the AP course that you don't necessarily see when it comes to the dual enrollment courses. The slide that you're looking at right now, and I know there's a couple of questions in the chat, we'll make sure to circle back to all of them. I don't want anybody to feel like we sort of glossed over what they're asking. So when it comes to certain content areas, there are some connections, right? The English courses for AP are on the slide, you know, vis-a-vis the English dual enrollment courses, math and math. So you can kind of go down and see what courses are out there. I don't think, Gail, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's a comprehensive list of dual enrollment courses. There might be some other options out there, but that's kind of the heavy hitters, the ones that most kids are taking on the dual enrollment side.
The ones that correspond with like a high school graduation requirement. And somebody had asked about the AP macroeconomics, counting for economics, and the answer is yes. So under these social studies, like Brian's pointing out here, so a child could take AP comparative government and politics, and that could, no, they would have to take AP US government and politics. That would count as their government course if they so chose to do that route. If a child wanted to take American history, they would have to take two dual enrollment courses, because each one of these AMH 1010s are equal to a half of a US history credit. So they would need to take both of those courses listed there in order to count for their full US history. But there's a link down at the bottom, it's that 2021-22 dual enrollment course equivalency chart, and you can access that actually if you Google 2021-22 dual enrollment course high school subject area equivalency list. You will get that, and you can see what each dual enrollment course equals to for high school credit.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions in the chat about our slide deck and resources. Gail and I in our office we're transparent as possible. We'll send us full with everything that we have for this presentation and resources and links. In addition to the recording, right? So yeah, you'll have this if you want it to go back to. There is a question in the chat that actually makes a good point about AP. It says, if a student doesn't do well on the AP course, and I'm assuming, I think that means the AP exam. Oh no, I guess that's the course. There is no impact on the college GPA. That's correct. Yeah. So the AP side of it is it's sort of risk-free, because if they struggle and they don't do well, even though they have the potential to earn college credit, they don't have it at the same time with the risk of a D, an F, or a W on their college transcript, because it's mainly a high school course with an opportunity for college credit. Whereas a dual enrollment course is a college course, no matter how you slice it. You are a college student, whether you are on our campus or theirs, whether you're in person or online, you are a college student. So anything that happens in that college course affects you as a college student moving forward. Whereas the work that's being done in the AP course is really a benefits only situation. So how do you decide? I mean, we've provided you with all this information, and ultimately you can only pick one when you go to register for courses, right? So a couple of things to think about when it comes to like, how do I process, you know, picking one or the other? There was some conversation in the chat about credit, right? So when it comes to college and whether or not these credits transfer or are they accepted, the AP courses are nationally recognized, right? So I started this whole presentation saying that we're the ones who want to open up doors of opportunity. I don't ever want to be the adult in a kid's life who closed the door and just said, hey, don't worry about that one. And I realize that 8th, 9th, 10th graders, they don't know what they want to do. They might not have aspirations of going out of state, but I don't know that they're in a position to decide that, right? So what you need to know is that the dual enrollment courses are recognized in the state of Florida. So they're staying in state for college. Those credits, and I don't want to speak, you know, in absolutes, but those credits will transfer to those state universities. When it comes to AP, they do great in the course, they get a high score on the AP exam, That is a nationally recognized list, and there's a AP credit policy website that we can direct you to make sure that the school that they want to go to does recognize that course and that exam. But chances are, if they do well in the course and do well in the exam, no matter where they go, that credit will be recognized by that institution. So they might not know they want to go to Auburn or Duke or wherever, but if they take a dual enrollment course, you can rest assured that those credits won't transfer over, but the AP credits will. So that whole in-state, out-of-state thing comes up. Think about where your child's already experienced those successes. I kind of hesitate on how to exactly frame this, but your AP courses, even so, they don't present that risk of, okay, if I do really poorly, it's going to follow me on my college transcript. Those courses might expect a little bit more of the student, right? So we would recommend those courses for areas of strength for your student, right? So I wouldn't take a student who really struggles in math and put them in an AP math class. But if they are looking for opportunities for advanced coursework in math to challenge themselves in some degree, find those dual enrollment opportunities. But for subjects that have been academic strengths of students, in my opinion, those are the courses that are most likely where they're going to find success in AP. And then for dual enrollment on the ones that might challenge your student more academically. And then what sets your child up? And again, this is very individualized. Nobody advocates or cares as much as you do about your child, and we understand and appreciate that as parents ourselves. But AP courses are offered on campus by a school teacher, like a teacher at their school. So if connection and culture of the classroom and connection to that teacher matters, AP courses oftentimes are going to have that teacher there. They will have created a system of support. They might have little clubs or t-shirts, or they might meet during lunch for support or do some tutoring. I've seen amazing work by these AP chemistry teachers and AP economics teachers where they really rally around these kids and they create these little communities of learners, and they get all this support. And that's something that really speaks to a lot of kids. Dual enrollment courses are a little bit different, right? They might be offered on HCC's campus. They might be offered online, or even if they're on campus, I don't know that they have that same community or culture around it. It's sort of it's a different vibe. As Gail was talking about it, you're treated as a college student, right? This is how we're gonna treat this course as a college course. Here's the syllabus. Here's the expectations, and we're going to move through it that way, where the AP environment might be a little bit different. Gail, did you want to speak to this slide at all?
Well, no, just making sure that, you can do a mix too. It doesn't have to be all or none. It doesn't have to be all AP courses and no dual enrollment. It can be, and actually it's nice. I would highly recommend it as a former school counselor and as a parent. My children, my own girls took both. They took AP courses and they took dual enrollment. And I did want to share quickly that about my daughter who took AP biology, and she scored a 2 on that AP test or exam. So she didn't earn the college credit. However, when she went to the University of Central Florida, her freshman year, she took biology and aced it, and then went on to further take higher level science courses. So it's, as Brian mentioned, it's all about giving your child the exposure to these different types of coursework that will end up making them a better student.
And when we talk about the power of the two, that's a lot of times what we talk about is you've exceeded many of the grade level benchmarks that are established by your peers. Just because you didn't earn a 3 to assure yourself that college credit didn't mean that didn't prepare you for college. You absolutely prepared you for college. We have lots of stories of examples, just like Gail's daughter and what she experienced in that process, even though the exam day didn't go the way that she expected. So a couple questions before we wrap up our slideshow about the AP exam and whether or not so if a student takes the course, an AP course, but does not what they call pass, and that's really not a word we use, it's a 3, 4, or 5, right? So if they don't get that 3 or higher, how will they earn that college credit? Well, again, for that AP course, the ship will have sailed on the exam. But then the question says, can they take a dual enrollment course in the same subject later? And absolutely. And in fact, I've seen students double up, right? They'll take a AP English language, and they'll take ENC 1101, which is the dual enrollment English. And just to sort of make sure you had all your bases covered, or you had your experience varied. So it just sort of depends on what they want. Yeah, doing one does not preclude you from doing the other, either concurrently or at a different time. Question about the dual enrollment deadlines, we'll make sure we get all of that. Can students do dual enrollment over the summer? We'll make sure to get all that. So let me just make sure I covered everything. All right, now we're in a question and answered. So I want to make sure that Gail speaks to the things that she can speak to. I'll speak to the things that I can speak to. We'll kind of combine some of them as best we can. So if you have questions that you've been holding till the end of the presentation, we've covered everything that we've prepared for you today. But there's plenty of other things that we could have presented that we kind of held back just to make this more of a survey or an overview. So if there's something we didn't cover, please feel free to put that into the chat, and we'll spend some time answering your questions before we wrap up.
All right, thank you so much for that great overview. And I don't know if all of the questions have been asked, so I'm going to go through them, the ones that I see, and if you have already answered them, you can let me know. So what is the best option for a child with a 504 and an IEP plan?
I would say both the teachers of those courses, whether it's a dual enrollment course or an AP course, are either legally bound to service that child in accordance with the 504 or the IEP, or have been trained on differentiation measures. The tests they'll receive the accommodations. I know on the AP side, it still goes back to what would be a strength and what would be a challenge in terms of your child's academics, regardless of the status of the 504 or the IEP. Gail? Okay.
Yeah.
Hope that answers it.
All right, so this parent said her daughter missed the PSAT this year due to quarantine. How can I ensure she doesn't slip through the cracks in being identified as having AP potential?
So depending on what grade the student is, they'll have another opportunity. So let's say, I think it was that, I don't know if the question it mentioned. So let's say that student's a 9th grade student, they're going to take PSAT in 10th grade as well. So while they might not have current AP potential numbers there, this kind of process, informing them, getting them to ask their guidance counselor. Guidance counselors are amazing. They're doing everything they can to make sure that all those kids are in the courses that they either want or should be in, but they're not all knowing beings. So having this child who can go to their guidance counselor and ask good questions and say, hey, look, I missed PSAT. I'm not sure if I have this quote unquote AP potential, but based on what I am or what I've done, can you help me pick an AP course or two that I might benefit from? That's probably a good place to start until the next opportunity to take that PSAT and have that official AP potential number.
And something I would also add to that is have your child speak with their current teachers and knowing what AP courses may be available to them for the next grade level. Let's say they are a freshman and they could speak with their current either let's say social studies teacher and find out that hey, AP World is offered next year, and then say, hey, can I, do you think you would recommend me for that? And typically schools are programming right now. High school, Hillsborough County Public High Schools, I know are right now programming their students for next year's classes. So now is a perfect opportunity for you to have these conversations with your child and suggest that they reach out to their teachers and say, hey, I'm interested in taking an AP class. If their work ethic is good, to me, test scores and whatever aren't that relevant. If your child is a hard worker and loves, certain subjects or whatever, don't hold them back just because maybe their test score, or maybe they don't have a test score. So, finding out what your school offers for courses and then being proactive and saying, hey, I want my child to take that course, as long as your child's interested in it though.
Yeah, and I'll give you 3 AP courses right off the bat that have sort of this like 0 grade entry. Like you don't need a whole lot. You don't have to bring a whole lot to these courses. to be successful. And those courses, oftentimes that, we see this sort of first AP experience would be AP Human Geography, AP Computer Science Principles, and then the AP Capstone program has the first course in it is called AP Seminar. So those 3 courses give students an opportunity, depending on whether they have any interest or no interest in computers or history. Those 3 courses are really safe onboarding courses for students who are just thinking about AP. If they haven't taken one of those 3 courses and they're offered at your school, I would encourage them to ask about those 3.
All right, so this next question, I'm not sure if you had answered it. Should a student review the in-class coursework for the year or AP test resources from like Princeton Review or something similar for the AP exams? And then the second question is, taking AP courses online discouraged, or is there less likelihood to be successful on the AP exams for virtual courses?
If I would say if you are going to take an AP course on virtual, make sure you do it. Well, I shouldn't say make sure. I would encourage you to take it through Hillsborough Virtual K-12. We have great AP teachers who are doing great work in that program. You start to venture outside of HVK-12. I can't really speak to the efficacy of those programs, but I know that those teachers at HVK-12 are working really hard to prepare their students. We talked about the resources, AP Classroom. One thing I didn't mention there is that they can have it on their phones. There's an app, so they can have those resources on the go at their fingertips whenever they wanted to get a little extra help in AP Bio or whatever they're studying.
Okay. I think you all did an overview on what the difference between honors and AP classes are, correct?
We didn't talk specifically about honors versus AP.
Okay.
I would say that they are. It's a different world. It's a different world, right? So if you had a student who went from like, oh, they used to be in sort of regular classes and then we took honors classes and they did pretty well in that, you're talking about sort of probably like another 2x in terms of expectations and rigor above that for an AP course. So be ready for that jump because the expectations are going to ramp up. Sure.
All right. PSAT was not administered in my child's school this year, which is 8th grade. What other metrics would be used to identify AP potential?
They would go back to the traditional means, teacher recommendations, other state tests, but I was kind of interested in terms of why that would have happened. A PSAT administration that was missed at a school. I'm not really sure how that would happen. A Hillsborough school.
Can an HCC online course count as an online requirement?
Yes.
AP or dual enrollment, which will make a student more marketable to colleges?
That's a good balance. We would encourage, and they both live in our office, so we're not going to say one over the other. But this goes all the way to college admissions officers. They want to see a good balance, right? They want to make sure that you are a student who took advantage of opportunities that your school offered. You didn't shy away from one or lean into the other. So a good mix is always best when it comes to at least these 2 programs.
What is the deadline for dual enrollment for the fall? I'm trying to determine if my daughter needs to take the PERT exam since she is not signed up for SAT until March.
She could go ahead and take the PERT. HCC's, if HCC has a great website for dual enrollment, and it's got the steps that they need to do in order to apply and submit test scores. They have a link where you can get hooked up with an advisor so that you can set up for taking the PERT at HCC. I would highly recommend getting that taken care of prior to March, because the deadline, I can look, I have it on a form in my office right here. I'll put it in the chat on what the deadline will be for. Somebody had asked about summer. HCC offers summer dual enrollment. There's a deadline for that. I'll put that deadline in there. And then there is a deadline prior to the end of this school year for your students to submit everything for fall term. So I will get those in here, but it's also posted on HCC's website. And check your high school websites. They have been telling me that they post things on Canvas.
All right, now this one is related to, there are some AP courses not open for enrollment on Florida Virtual School. Please explain the reason for it, and when do you think students can enroll?
Gail covered that one. It's just about how much coursework can be covered before the exam.
Okay. And I think I heard this one. Can we as parents see the recommendation for AP classes based on the PSAT on college?
In the students' digital score report for PSAT, they'll be able to see the AP potential recommendations.
All right. Is it true that if a child should only take dual enrollment if they know they'll get an A or B because it counts as first part? Okay, so I think we covered that really well. Gail, did you explain the difference between the weighted GPA and unweighted, or Brian, did you all explain that?
I just touched on it. So regular classes like English 1 has no weight. A student who takes English 1 honors receives 0.04 added. So if your child got an A in English 1 honors, they would get a 4.04 for first semester. If your child took instead AP English language, your child got a B or an A semester 1, they would receive a 4.08. Same thing with dual enrollment. However, it gets a little tricky for dual enrollment because if your child takes ENC 1101, which is freshman English, that is equal to a full high school English credit. So they get 0.16 added to their GPA if they earn a C or higher. So that's how these students are graduating now with 9-point-something GPAs.
They get to that with the 0.08. I never realized that, but thank you for great explanation. All right, this question is, do we know when the open enrollment for HEC Fall 2022 will open? My son will take the SAT in May, and I'm worried that he will miss the cutoff to submit the SAT and would prefer not to have to coordinate the PERC.
So I have the deadline. The deadline for if your children attend Hillsborough County Public Schools. I can't speak to somebody's from Pasco or private schools or home ed. But our students in Hillsborough County Public Schools have to submit paperwork. When I say submit paperwork, that is an authorization form B, which your child will get from the high school counselor, and their updated student summary worksheet. That is a deadline that's like 2 weeks prior to the registration for class deadline. If you think about HCC processing, we have thousands and thousands of students taking dual enrollment courses. So they have to process all that paperwork prior to the date when students have the deadline to register for the classes. So HCC's deadline for our students to turn in their paperwork, again, authorization form B and the student summary worksheet, is 2 weeks prior to the class registration deadline. So that's something that parents and students have been struggling a little bit with understanding the difference. So I'm hoping to get the message out on what that difference is. I'm about ready to put the deadlines in for summer, and they need to get their scores. They need to take that PERT if they're not going to take the SAT until later, or if your child is younger. I saw somebody put in the chat, what's the age? State statutes, Florida state statutes says that students in grades 6 through 12 can take dual enrollment courses. I caution you middle school parents of having your children rush into something when they may not be mature wise. Okay, so though they may be eligible because they have a high school GPA, possibly took algebra in 6th grade, and now they're in 7th, and they have a 4.0 because they have 1 high school credit. Just be careful. They may not have the maturity level. You know your child. I just caution that very much so, but state statutes, 6th grade. So they would have to take the PERT.
Sorry, I was muted. That answered a lot of the questions. They want to know what grade. Here's a question about transferable credits. Are they transferable? Are there any restrictions the student should be aware of, and how well do these credits transfer with them?
We talked about the in-state versus out-of-state. As far as I'm aware, maybe Gail can shed some light on this, that there shouldn't be any issues with transferability in-state when it comes to the dual enrollment credits. If you're interested in the AP credits transferring, I would just use your favorite search engine to search AP credit policy. That will bring you to their website, and you can look up any institution and which AP courses they offer credit for and what score they have to achieve.
Does that U.S. history count as a required U.S. history credit?
Yep, we talked about that. Yep, sure does.
And I guess that would be the same for AP microeconomics and.
Yep.
We have 5 more questions. I'm headed down. They have great questions.
Yeah, good
Can't
question.
keep up.
It's all the important stuff that we wanted to talk about today. So I'm glad that they're being asked.
All right, so Gail put some stuff in there. She put, if you all look in the chat, Gail has put some HCC summer term paperwork deadline in there. She says it's April 8th for the 2020 HCC fall term, and the paperwork deadline is May 20th, I guess, for the fall term. Okay. And
Those are very, very important deadlines. I can't tell you how many people miss them. And if you miss the deadline, you're just going to have to wait out a term.
And
So-
and Gail's kind of sugarcoating a little bit. It says paperwork deadline. People think, well, it's just paperwork, right? It is as deadline as deadlines get. They're not messing around. They mean if your paperwork isn't in by these dates, nothing else can happen after that. So it is the deadline.
And have your child be proactive too, because April 8th, let's say, is HCC's paperwork deadline. But imagine what the counselor's got going on. So remember that one of the pieces of that paperwork includes a form that the counselor has to fill out. So, and with COVID these days, who knows who's in or out, if you're sick or what. So if your child knows they want to do summer, go ahead and get that paperwork done sooner than later, because don't wait until April 8th. I've heard of counselors not being in and the child being upset because they couldn't get it. It's the deadline. Let's not wait till deadline. Let's prepare our students for life.
On that note, that's it right there. We are excited about your child going on to the next level. We want them to get there, and we don't want any barriers, crazy barriers like that, because it is important. And it's frustrating for a child, especially when they have their heart set, they made their decision. We should be starting it right now. So thank you all for being here. Parents, you are awesome, and I hope it was very informative. We are excited about your child's future and want to support. You can always reach out to, they have their contact information right there on the screen. Go ahead and snap a picture of that so you can save it. So if you have any additional questions that you thought about later, you can reach out to them. So with that, I want to thank you all for being with us, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Brian and Gail.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.